Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jacob, and welcome back to Dress Rehearsal, the podcast where Broadway and fashion take center stage, and we dive deep on the roles that shape us on stage and off. Today's guest is Ryann Redmond. I first learned about Ryan's epic combination of wit, silliness, and heart in If Then, one of my favorite musicals starring Idina Menzel, LaChanze, Jenn Colella, and Anthony Rapp, which was all about the choices we make in life, a la Gwyneth Paltrow in Sliding Doors, how one decision could change your entire life. But before If Then, Ryann made her Broadway debut in Bring It On, the musical. Since then, she has been no stranger to the Broadway stage, becoming the first female Olaf in Frozen, originating in Jimmy Buffett's Escape to Margaritaville, Parrot Head's Rise Up, and Once Upon a One More Time. Ryann will be returning to the New York stage in heated Rivalry off Broadway. Previews begin May 12th, 2026, so run, don't walk. Please enjoy this conversation with Ryann Redmond. And welcome Ryann Redmond to the podcast. How are you, Ryann?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me.
Of course. And we start out every episode with when did you get bit by the theater bug?
I got bit by the theater bug when I moved to a different middle school in the eighth grade, which is shocking to say out loud. It's like, why did I have to go to a new school in the eighth grade? The literal
Mhm.
worst time to move. But yeah, the school was doing Annie, and I was like, oh, I gotta be Annie. I'd never done any musical theater before. I played really competitive softball, but I was like, I'm gonna try out for the musical. Who knows why? And I practiced and, tried to mimic everything Andrea McCardle did on the cast album. And I was like, I got this. And I went and auditioned and I was like, I nailed this. And then the cast list came out and I was Mr. Bundles, the laundry man.
Period.
Yep. Yep. And so I was a little bummed, not gonna lie, but no, I got kind of the bug just like being funny and I had a really good theater teacher who was like, everybody watch Ryan, everyone watch what she's doing. She's making people laugh, she's really present. So got to high school and I had an amazing theater director who we did like sometimes three musicals a year. And that's kind of how it all began. I just got to play around like this random public school in Georgia who had an amazing theater director. And I got to do like so many fun musicals that schools don't usually do. Like we were doing like the Great American Trailer Park musical and like Little Women and Spitfire Grill, just like all these kind of like not, mainstream per se musicals. And I just got to play. And that's kind of how it all began.
It's funny how many people have the Annie origin story because that was one of mine too. And
Really?
I ended up playing Pepper, the sassy orphan, and I was like, I was like an old diva, like trapped in like an 8-year-old's body, so it did work. We were giving a performance, but I feel like
Yes.
everyone goes into Annie and they're like, well, so I'm Annie, obviously.
Obviously, like there's no question. Like I am the lead.
Like A Star is Born, and then you read the cast list and you're going down, 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 down. Oh,
Uh-huh.
we're still going down. Oh, perfect.
Yep.
No problem.
Yep. That sounds about right.
And I know you grew up with a lot of kids in your house, and did you feel like theater was kind of your way of standing out and like carving your own identity?
I mean, I kind of always stood out no matter what. Like all of my siblings are so vastly different from me. Like my older brother is like could not be more polar opposite. He's like a quiet, solid Southern man who's a mechanic and like just and then there's me. I was the second and just kind of loud and out there and always knew I liked to make people laugh. But I feel like I didn't really need to stand out because I already kind of was, but I was always sassy. I always was, trying to be the life of the party. So it wasn't hard.
You were like, yeah, this was actually going to be my lane no matter what. Like, there could have been 15 kids in this house, and like, I was still going to be me.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm the only one who's like who performs. I'm kind of like the black sheep, for
Is it
lack of a better term.
kind of wild though to look back and be like, oh, I knew who I was at such an early age? Of like, it was just there. I even found like from when I was 8, it was like, who's your idol? And I put Meryl Streep. Like, get a grip. What? Like, how did I even know who she was? I don't know. But like, you can look back and be like, oh, Ryan has always been Ryan.
Yeah, it's something that I've kind of always been super I feel honored because I have obviously we know so many people who live in New York who kind of just like didn't really discover what they wanted to do, or even in college, like friends who were going to school for musical theater and just were kind of like, I don't really want to do this. And I've kind of just always been like so glad that I did have that lane and I did know exactly what I wanted to do because I know how hard it can be if you don't. And not necessarily hard, but I
Mhm.
know how like kind of unsettling it can feel if you feel like you can't really like put your feet down and like get to it
Right.
without knowing what you actually want to do for a profession. But it
Right. It's
turns out
hard.
I got to do that and enjoy it.
Well, it's hard on both sides. It's like if you have the North Star, you're just so fixated on getting there. So that's obviously a lot of pressure. But at the same time, like having no North Star would feel even more just kind of like lost in the universe.
Hmm.
And you went on to go to NYU for musical theater school, but left to do Bring It On with like what 32 other Broadway debuts. And
Yes.
people that have come out of that cast is insane. And so
Right?
there's like Ariana DeBose, like Adrian Warren, like ridiculous. And
Uh-huh.
so what has it meant to you to kind of have like a class of people to grow up in the business with? Because that feels so special.
It really was extremely special, especially because I developed that show from like one of the first readings. So it was about 3 years of my life, like starting around 19 years old, which is insane to say. And we all kind of grew up doing the musical too, because we did that thing that is not as unusual now, but we went on tour before we came to Broadway.
Mhm.
And we basically were just like college kids on tour in like really fun major cities across the US. So we really got to be in the trenches together, but it wasn't really the trenches because it was a production contract tour. But really just grow up, I keep saying, but like we were all so young and we were all pretty much around the same age, like give or take, obviously a few younger, a few older, but it was just like being in the ultimate like summer camp with all of your friends and then, now being able to look back and, do other shows with those people and really just see everybody shooting to the top and just like still thriving is something that's so special. And that show is such a big part of me and a big part of why I do this for a living. But it's awesome to know that we all started there and we're all still continuing to thrive and continuing to show up. And it's just awesome. There's so many of us, and like we literally just we see each other all the time. It's so fun.
Do you feel like being surrounded by so many other newcomers kind of allowed you to take more risks and fail boldly? Because I could see on the flip side, like if you're working with like, I don't know, like a Helen Mirren, you're like, I'm too afraid to like make a big swing. But when you're surrounded by everyone that's just trying things, did it feel like there was just so much more room for that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, also the nature of the show being half musical theater performers and half champion cheerleaders
Yeah.
really set the stage for play and for like everybody's doing something they're not used to be doing or they're not used to doing. So like the cheerleaders had to learn how to sing and act and we had to learn how to do some cheer stuff. And so like it was just like the most collaborative experience from the beginning because it literally had to be because all of us were doing something out of our comfort zone. And there's something to be said for, our creative team at the time, who are also all now humongous stars. They they were so amazing about letting us play and letting us do crazy things and, throw paint on the wall and just like the all around collaboration, like from the team down to the actors was amazing.
People love to forget Lin-Manuel Miranda's Bring It On era.
Right?
Like, let us not forget.
Let us not forget it came before
Mhm.
Hamilton.
Right. And it feels like now people are finally like giving like the Legally Blonde Bring It On era of just like camp and fun their due, where it's just like, no, yeah, these are epic and they're awesome. And like you can do
Yeah.
them seriously.
Yeah, and they worked for a reason and people love them for a reason. We
Yes.
need that escapism. We need that absolute musical theater comedy like to the nth degree.
And also selfishly, I'm just putting this out there. I do need a Ryan Redmond, Paulette, or Elle in Legally Blonde in my future.
I'm sure it's gonna happen. I would love to play Elle. I did play Enid at Sacramento
Yes.
Music Circus, but I definitely feel like I can graduate to. I would love to play Elle. That's like dream of mine. That's like top three favorite shows, Legally Blonde.
And people also love to forget that is like the hardest role ever.
Yeah, I don't know who forgets that. If you do, you must be blind and deaf.
But I feel like when you look at it, when it's so fun, people are like, oh, she's having a blast. It's like, no, she's having a blast and it's really freaking hard.
It's so flipping hard for most of the characters. Like, I mean, I guess not for like the Enids or like the some of the more supporting characters, but like everybody's dancing their faces off. They're singing their faces off. And especially like Elle, it's insane. It really is under, you're right. People are like, oh, it's so fun. It's such so bubblegum. It's like, no, she's doing a literal marathon on stage.
No. I need to know how you ended up in the audience of the MTV taping of Legally Blonde. Like, how did that?
So freaking fun. They just reached out. I think they reached out to like all musical theater schools in New York. So we did it through NYU. They were like, everybody, you got to wear pink. We're going to Legally Blonde.
You're like, say
And
less.
we're like, okay. And we're there. It was so fun. It was such a crazy audience. It was so uproarious. And the fact that we got to be there was so cool.
I mean, you're a piece of history.
Right? I
I
know. If only
have
that
gone back
was
recently
on
and
camera.
rewatched like the YouTube of it, and it's so funny because it's so 2000s where it's like,
Uh-huh.
"Hey, bitch, we're going to a commercial break," and you're just like, "Wait, what? Like what?" Uh,
I haven't gone back to watch it at all, so that's hysterical. But like, what didn't they like cut away to like who was hosting it?
Haley Duff.
Haley Duff. How could I forget?
Yes, caveat on not Hillary, but yes, it's Haley
It
Duff.
was Haley. Yeah, and it was like in the era of like Laguna Beach and stuff. So everyone was like, "Hey, slut." Or sorry,
Yes,
maybe I can't
exactly.
say slut on this podcast,
No,
but
we're good with slut. That's okay.
okay, good. Okay, good, good, good.
But it was a time capsule. It was such a moment to go back to. I was like, whoa, okay.
Yeah.
We were
I
unhinged.
I know I love that, and also too I'm good friends with Paul Kanan, who's like works every time, and he goes back and talks about the reality show of it all, like how he kind of was like thrust into doing that like last minute, and
Mm,
like now he's like going back, he's and like looking at the comments, everyone's like has all these like people are in the comments like saying things about him, and he's like I was just living, like what? Why are people coming for me? They asked me to be here. And, it was a reality show. It's so funny because now, like that so wasn't the time of social media then, but now like things like you're saying are like having a resurgence. So it's funny like going back and looking at comments.
it's also just funny of like the reality TV-ification of Bernie Telsey. Like it's just like all these like big names, and it's like, wait, what are we doing?
No, like literally all of the girls competing for Elle are like superstars
Lena
now in the
Hall,
theater.
Trey
Right.
Rebrand.
Yeah, like my girl Lauren Zacharian in there, so many people who are were just like I'm just like thinking now, I'm like, would I have ever gone on a reality show like that? Like it must have been so insane doing that. It's like that Every Little Step documentary. I'm like, wow, we just like really were going on TV and putting each
Oh,
other on film.
it's that. It's like the Glee Project. Like there's so many of these that like people do come out of them. And like
A ton of people do, yeah.
I just learned that Phineas was on
Hmm.
the Glee Project, I guess, and then on Glee. I
Oh,
was like,
really?
what? Yeah. Niche holes.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Random.
I do want to talk about though, If Then, because it is one of my favorite shows of all time.
I love that that's your one of your favorite shows.
So POV, I was in high school when I saw it, and I was like, where am I going to college? What is my life gonna be? Like, what door am I gonna go through? And I'm like, oh yeah, me and this like divorcee are just living parallel lives. And the main character effect was in full force.
Oh my
So
God. That's hysterical.
yeah. And I remember I took my dad to see it and I was like, "Don't you get it? This is me." And he was like, I
He's
don't
like,
see it."
what?
He's like, "Girl, what? No, but okay." But I do want to talk about the fact that that show was led by so many vets, from LaChanze to Idina Menzel, Anthony Rapp. Like, what were you taking from that rehearsal room that now you every single time you're like, "Oh, I remember that this person did that and I want to be that from now on."
Oh my gosh. I mean, there's so many things that I took from that rehearsal. I basically just got to watch master classes every single day, like with people I grew up idolizing, like Idina and Anthony and Jenn and LaChanze. Like it was unreal. Just like probably the fact that they just showed up every day completely ready to work. And like that's something that I don't know if I wasn't doing that before, but like just seeing these people who are so seasoned and so like in the pulse of our industry, it was really refreshing to see that even though they were so huge, like they were still showing up to work every day, ready to play, ready to do the work and just being prepared. And that's, something I teach all my students is, and something I abide by myself is just like the minute you are unprepared is the minute that you don't succeed. And that's kind of something that I live by. And they all were the epitome of that.
The show is all about kind of the choices that you make every day. And you were in your 20s in the show in New York. And so, did it kind of influence how you navigated your own life?
You know, now like thinking back on it, I don't think I was smart enough to think about it that
Okay.
like, intrinsically or, I didn't have any sort of crises. I was just like 23 years old, just so happy to be on Broadway every day and so happy to be performing with these stars that like I didn't really I just was like this is where I'm supposed to be and but now looking back, I'm like it is so interesting. I think I would appreciate as an audience member the show more now being, you know, almost 20 years in the city and knowing how many of those choices that we make could have led to vastly different lives for us is
Mhm.
something that's so fascinating. And I think I was a little too naive at 23 to be like, what door will I go through
Right.
tomorrow? But I was just, really present and happy to be there with that team and that cast because we had the best time.
It is wild though, as a performer, like, oh, if I don't go to this audition, like, who knows what happens? And I feel like the pressure of that always comes through of like, oh, I have to plant every single seed and see where it goes because you never should know like what show's gonna come around years later.
Yeah.
I'm also really curious about out of town runs. And so you had worked with Tom Kitt on Bring It On and then If Then. So
Uh-huh.
you saw his like music process up close. How much did the show change between DC and New York? Like, what did that whole process look like?
I mean, it changed quite a bit between DC and New York because, as with any musical, like the beginning and the end is the hardest, the opening and the closing. And so the opening, I feel like, changed almost daily just because they were really trying to figure out how we introduce Lizbeth, Liz and Beth, and
Right.
everybody and all the other characters because you have to really set the tone early on for what this is going to be. Otherwise, you're super confused. So the opening changed a bunch. I think it was mostly stuff involving the understanding of the two storylines. Like that was kind of always in motion. Tom and Brian are so awesome, and like the bones were always there.
The
When we did
glass
the
is
first
on.
reading, it was just called If.
Oh,
Yeah.
if.
Just if,
Sure.
right? So that
I
changed.
mean, what if? Sure.
Yeah.
It is like the glasses on, the glasses off of it all.
Uh-huh.
It's the
Exactly.
blazer versus the sweater of it all.
Right. Liz and Beth's glasses, or not, or lack thereof.
Put them in the Smithsonian.
I know, right? I love that you love that show. I feel like some people were like, "What is happening here?" And then other people were
Sure.
like, "I love If Then." But that's why we love theater.
Right. It's like it'll find the people that it resonates with, and those
Yeah,
people will love it. And so that's worth putting it together in the first place. But
totally.
it's an interesting through line too of like if then was around the time that Frozen was blowing up. And so it was a wild moment to be an Idina Menzel show. And then you went on to be the first Lady Olaf in Frozen on Broadway. So
Yeah.
did you always feel connected to Frozen, kind of rooting it on? Or was this just something that you were like, oh, cool, and then it came into your life later on?
Well, it was a really cool kind of connection of it all because when we were doing If Then in DC, you're right, like that's when Adina performed at the Oscars, that's when Adele Dazeem happened. We got to like go through all of that with her and like kind of be along the journey, obviously not directly beside her, but like the fact that she was opening this brand new musical and also going through all of that was absolutely insane. But like she rented out a theater for us to see the film as a cast. So we had all those really fun memories of it. And it never really crossed my mind that I would be a part of the Broadway production. I just, obviously loved the film and I accepted that that was probably what it was going to be. And it was so cool to be in her orbit during all of that. But then when Frozen on Broadway came along, I thought it was a mistake. Like I thought my agents had sent me the wrong email because it was like baritone. It was in summer was in a male key. I was like, did you guys send me the wrong thing? And they were like, nope, they asked for you. I was like, oh, okay. And so it kind of just fell on my lap in a time that was so unexpected and was such a crazy whirlwind.
I mean, what like an example in not counting yourself out of an opportunity of just being like, sure, I'll go in and like try and put my own spin on it.
Yeah, that was what was the most fun about it is that like literally I couldn't do what was done before because obviously Greg Hildreth was an amazing 10 foot or not 10 foot. Greg Hildreth is 10 feet. No,
Pretty
five
tree.
foot 10, right? 5 foot 10 man. And obviously Josh Gad is, the roadmap. So like I literally couldn't do what was done before. And that was something that was so refreshing from the Disney creatives that they just kind of were like, let's figure out what this is for you. And, obviously I had some sort of je ne sais quoi that they wanted for Olaf. And like they were like, let's run with that and let's find what your Olaf is.
And what a unique way to like replace because usually it's a lot of like plug and play and the fact that like
Hmm.
you couldn't be in that mold even if you wanted to. So it almost just forced everyone to kind of see it in a new light.
Yeah, that literally is exactly what it was. It's what I was expecting, truly. It was that I was gonna go into a well-oiled machine and kind of just hit my mark and, do what was done before. But it was super refreshing that they really let me find my own version of the little snowman.
I also think a really cool part of your career in particular is the fact that you came from Georgia, you really like built your network from scratch, and you have this thread of almost like loyalty where it's like your first Broadway shows were both with Tom Kitt, and then I heard you talk about casting director Rachel Hoffman putting you in like almost every one of your shows. And so, what do you feel like working with the same creatives time and time again has taught you about just like building a relationship in the business?
Well, it piggybacks off of that preparedness that I was talking about. And a lot of times, when I'm teaching up and coming musical theater performers, I tell them you want to get the second job. Everybody can get the first job,
Hmm.
right? That's easy. Everyone can walk in a room and dazzle, but the minute that you are asked back by the same person, that's when you know that you showed up and did the work. And that is absolutely something I live by every day. It's so nice to know that like that's kind of formulaic but it's easier said than done. Like obviously not everybody works well together. you know Certain people are right for certain people and certain people are wrong for certain people, but like I pride myself on being a team player and being kind and showing up prepared, and like that is something that I feel like is so valuable in this business, especially because there's constantly new people coming in. There's constantly a new batch of extremely talented people. And so all you can do is be nice and be the person that they want to hire for a second time. And that has kind of been how my career has unfurled. It's really nice to know that that's how it's kind of worked out because, we all like to be liked. It's nice to know that people are like, okay, yeah, let me bet on her again. And
It's
that's those people. Like Amanda Green is another one who was Bring It On lyricist who I'm doing Regency Girls with and have been doing for the last 8 years. And Rachel at Telsey, literally, I think she did four of my Broadway shows. And then Craig Burns, another Telsey casting director. Yeah, it's nice to have those people in your corner.
It's interesting what you're saying about like the second job. I just watched the Noah Khan documentary and he was talking about like the pressure of putting out his second album. And it's
Oh
like,
yeah.
yeah, when you think about it, like the first album is the culmination of your whole life until then, but every album after that is like so specific and like a shorter time. And so the thought of having the foresight of like, I want to have longevity rather than just like one big splash in the beginning.
Yeah, no, I need to watch that. I heard it's really good.
It's
And I
so
love
good.
him.
I did cry,
Uh
which is embarrassing, but it was amazing.
No, I mean, if you don't cry at Noah, are you really living?
Well, and I was talking to my friend that I watched it with because he talks a lot about body dysmorphia, and I was like, I don't think I've ever heard a man talk about this before.
I saw a clip of that and I was like, good for him.
It's all just like about the dichotomy between like growing up and having like your family and everything that grounds you, and then like being shot out of a cannon. And he just talks so vulnerably. I'm like, oh my God, have I ever seen men talk like this? No. Like
I
it's
love
so
that.
refreshing and like
I love that.
beautiful to
Yeah,
see.
well, and also his music, like it's so like the stories that he tells are so that like tracks. Like
Yeah.
he's somebody that seems like a super honest person and so vulnerable in his music, so that makes sense that he talks about that. And I love that. I hope it helps a lot of people.
His mom at one point, they asked her, they were like, do you not love that he's like airing your dirty laundry? And she was like, such a great point. Yeah, a lot of my dirty laundry has been told to the entire world. But she was like, it's really cool that he reframes our like dirty laundry as just being human. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, beautiful. Okay.
Oh, thanks, Mom.
Artistic lady, like obsessed, sure.
Thank you, emotional intelligence.
Uh, High emotional intelligence going on in that documentary.
Okay,
But
good. I have to watch it.
well, there are a bunch of shows too that you were involved in early on. Like you said, 8 years for Regency Girls, which is wild. And
Insane.
you were also involved in the early stages of Titanic, which has now set sail on the Broadway. What
Yes.
can you tell us about like when you saw that concept for the first time? Like what was going on there?
Oh my gosh. Well, that was a whole crazy story of how I even came to do the show. It was, I think the first time I went down there, it was 2022, so it's like the tail end of the pandemic, and I got a call from Rachel Hoffman, and she was like, "Hey, can you learn the show over the weekend and come be in it on Tuesday?" This was a Saturday.
Hmm.
And I was like, huh? I was in Georgia at the time because during the pandemic, I moved back home to shoot a TV show. And then I kind of just stayed and was going back and forth until something like more substantial came up in New York. And so I was in Atlanta. And I was like, sure. Like thinking back, I'm like, like I'm somebody who's like adamantly like, I will never swing. I will never. Like my brain does not work like that. Like I'm not somebody who would thrive just like last minute being thrown on. Like that's not my journey. So I somehow said yes, and I learned the show from watching the video at the asylum. And then I had like 2 hours with the music director when I got there, but it was their day off, so like nobody was there. And then I had to put in on that Tuesday, and I jumped in the show, and everyone was amazing. I was like, first of all, how have I not heard about this show? It's so freaking funny. And that role is so fun getting to, I mean, I grew up listening to Celine Dion, so luckily that was a plus. Like it wasn't like I was completely from scratch learning a score that I had absolutely no knowledge of.
Sure.
I had a pretty good knowledge of all Celine Dion music, so that was nice. But yeah, I just got thrown in. It was so fun to play with all of those friends, and I was there for like a week, and then another month went by, another call on a Saturday morning, "Hey, can you come up to New York and be in the show tonight?" I was like, "Okay, sure." And then a third time got called a month later. I was like, "You guys call me anytime you want. I'm happy. It's nice to just pop in for a few performances and then head back to Georgia."
Post-pandemic, it reminds me of when they would like call Elphabas from like 10 years back of like, hi, we are so desperate. We need you to come in now. And it's like
Uh-huh.
coming to fruition, all like the stress dreams that they always talk about of like 10 years after Wicked, you're asleep and then you wake up and you're like, oh my God, I need to be green. And
Uh-huh.
it's giving the same energy.
It's giving that. I don't know if I could jump into it right now. I mean, if I had some preparation, obviously, but no, I'm so excited for that. I was supposed to go a few days ago, but I ended up having to cancel because something else came up. But I can't wait to see it on Broadway. Like it's been such a fun journey to watch them just keep soaring and keep thriving. But I love the show. The show is so fun.
There's such a conversation of like nothing original can get through. It's so expensive to get a show on Broadway. And you look at like the Titanics, you look at the O'Marys, like the people that stay so true to their vision, it does matter, and those things will succeed if it's really great material. And so to see success of those kinds of like camp fun experiments almost is,
Hmm.
I feel like reassuring that like we don't always have to play it safe.
Yes, totally. And that's what Girls is too. Like it's completely original. It's so flippin' funny because it's written by really funny people. Obviously, Amanda Green is hysterical as a lyricist, but then the two women who are book writers, Gabby and Jen, who they've written for Seinfeld and Veep, and so it's just really freaking funny. And honestly, it has like been kind of upsetting, like doing things in between or after runs of Regency Girls, because I'm like, guys, we need to level up our funny. Like, talk to my girls, Gabby and Jen. We got to be funny.
Not you being
And it's like,
spoiled.
I know. I've been so spoiled. And also, too, now doing Heated Rivalry coming up, like, also extremely funny. It's like nice to know that like comedy is alive and thriving and like people want to laugh more than ever
Yeah.
right now.
And I want to dive in on both of those shows. I want to start with Regency Girls. How did that come into your life? And like, what can you tell people about the premise of the show?
So that, along with like kind of the same line as with If Then, it was just Amanda reaching out like in the early stages, being like, "Hey, will you come to a reading of this new musical?" And that was about 8 years ago. We read, I think, like the first act. There wasn't even a second act then. It has developed over the years. Obviously, COVID put a damper on the development process, but we really have been chipping away at it for a long time. Last year, we had a sold out run in San Diego, which was received so well and sets records for the Old Globe. And audiences really, really loved it. And it is such an important show that the story needs to be told. And it's like, it's crazy how when the writers started writing it, it was kind of like, it was a little bit more like, oh, this isn't going to happen in terms of reproductive rights and women's rights. And now, as we've inched along over the years, like it gets a little closer to home, like, oh, wow, this is still happening. Like the opening of Act Two is, can you believe this shit's still happening in 1810? It's
Mhm.
like the 1750s all over again. So it's super timely and but most of all, again, it's really funny. It tells the story in a way of like really making fun of each other and making fun of ourselves while also really hitting the nail on the head in terms of women having autonomy over their own bodies. And it's like such a happy balance of the two. Like people in San Diego were like, I was crying and then I was laughing and then I was crying again and then I was laughing again and then I was crying and I was laughing. And it really is like, it's fast paced. It's four amazing women spearheading this journey to London to find this woman to help Eleanor, who needs to have an abortion. And it's a caper comedy all along the way. And it's so much fun. It's so, 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 so much fun.
It reminds me of like when you say the premise of like an Oh Mary, like a drunk cabaret star version of Mary Todd Lincoln, or you talk about like the importance of like a woman trying to get an abortion, but then it's hysterical, and you're like, oh,
Mm.
we can turn this on its head and it works.
Exactly. Exactly. That's the plan.
And you got to reunite with your Bring It On castmate, Kate Rockwell, with the show.
Yes.
And so, how did it feel like with so much life in the business in between, getting to like work with someone from really the start of your career?
It's been awesome. I mean, we've been lucky. Like Kate has been there with Regency Girls almost as long as I have, like if not the same amount of time. So like we've been in the trenches for 8 years with the show. So it's been nice to have a familiar friend. Like we have a very similar kind of comedy, and it's something that's so refreshing in a rehearsal room to walk in knowing that everybody is speaking the same language, the same comedy language. And not only with Kate, but with Izzy and Christina too. It's like it's just it's really weird how we all just lock in. Like, and that's something that people are noticing out completely outside of our bubble too, which is something that's so refreshing and nice. But like we really just all lock in and we speak the same language.
Which is very rare. We had Mark Shaman on the podcast and he was talking about hairspray and he was like, yeah, there were a lot of cooks in the same kitchen, but they all had the same recipe. And that's when you're gonna get
Oh,
the alchemy of like, oh, if we're all kind of have our own visions, but like are on the same track, it's gonna come together in a really cool way.
absolutely. And that's exactly what Regency Girls is.
I'm very excited. And
Yeah.
we have to talk about heated rivalry. So the people are dying for this. Like, what can you
The
tell
people
us?
are dying.
People are not well, actually.
The people are very unwell, and that was proven by two concerts that we were supposed to do that turned into eight sold out shows, and then an off-Broadway contract being offered to us before we even did the first show. Like it has
Insane.
been an absolutely insane whirlwind that happened so fast. But I mean, like Dylan, who wrote the entire thing, wrote the music, book, and lyrics. He wrote it so fast, so I think it's only it's only appropriate that everything else has kind of snowballed from there. But it's really, really, really funny, and audiences lose their minds, like absolutely lose their minds.
I can't even imagine what like that opening night is gonna look like.
I can't either. It's so fun. And what's fun for me is that like I play a new character who's essentially like a wine mom and she's like the narrator of the show.
Obsessed.
Yes. And she and her girlfriends discovered heated rivalry on a girls' trip to Montreal when Netflix wasn't working. And so the story is kind of told through my point of view, which is hysterical. And then I play various other characters that I can't reveal. But it's just really funny. And the music is so good. And there's so many like poppy bops.
Mm.
And we're just completely, we have got crazy wigs out of a bag. Like it's true, like musical comedy parody that, like, actually, Josh Rhodes, who's our director choreographer of Regency Girls, he came to one of our concerts and he was like, this reminds me of like early 2000s, like true musical parody, like that people were doing in cabaret spaces and like and basements, and he's like, this is giving Forbidden Broadway in the best way, like in the like such a nostalgic feeling of like when people were literally just doing anything they could to put on these hysterical shows in cabaret spaces. He's like, this is exactly what it feels like, and it's so good.
Well, I saw you guys did a magazine cover, and let me tell you, your look was giving a cross between Sue Sylvester and Regina George's mom in the best way humanly possible.
This, we did this shoot last week, and that wig that I'm wearing it's probably meant for, speaking of hairspray, it's probably meant for hairspray. It is so high. It's like up here.
The bump it
It's
was bump it thing.
the bump it, like there's literally like this much space. Like you could smush it down and like that's I don't know what it was created for. But the best part about it is in the show, like our hair is like dangling out of the bottom. So
That's
like we're no
great.
there's nobody, there's no secrets here. We're being so, especially because we're switching wigs so fast. But that is the ultimate like Karen, like it's giving Karen, but my character's not a Karen, but it's giving Karen wig.
Mm, love. And in the like campy vein, so we do need to talk about the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, Brittany Bateman cabaret of it all. I was obsessed with your sequin and sparkle ensemble. How did this collab come to be? What is the inspo for dressing for such a cabaret moment?
Oh my God. First of all, another thing that just kind of fell into my lap. The producer reached out and was like, "Hey, would you be willing to come sing a song with Brittany Bateman?" And I am a die-hard Bravo holic.
Oh, yes.
Like die hard, and especially for the Salt Lake City girls. And so this was like, say less, I'm there. And then they're like, do you want to sing a Death Becomes Her song? I was like, say less, absolutely. And I don't know, that dress just felt right. Like that's my one of my favorite things to wear. It's like basically like a potato sack. It's so flowy. But like I wore it to something else recently. Where did I wear it to? Oh, to the opening of Giant. Michael Goddard, he's an agent. He's I saw him at the party, the after party, and he was like, "Who is this Liza slash Sex in the City, like Carrie Bradshaw running across the street?" And then he's like, and then I saw you, I was like, "Of course, that's Ryann Redmond." And I was like, what a better combo to be compared to Liza and Carrie Bradshaw. Like,
An honor.
what a true honor.
I will say, when I was looking at the Brittany Bateman cabaret of it all, I was like, so how, Will Swenson, did you end up here? But they grew up together, I guess. And I was like, sure, Audra's husband should be there.
Sure. I didn't know that either. And when I got there and I was like, oh, Will Swinson is here. What is this? What is this connection? But then, yeah, that was really funny. No, she's actually so good and she's so sweet.
She
She's
did a
so
national
kind.
tour. I don't know which
Yeah,
one.
she did Miss Saigon.
Sure.
Yes, she did Miss Saigon, and she's got a great voice, and she was so fun, and audiences loved it, and it was such a blast. And now
And
she's like doing it all over the country. She's like going on the road.
a la Countess Luann, of course.
Countess.
No.
And I also just watched Potomac from the start to finish, and
Mhm.
now that's my next goal is to meet slash work with one of those ladies because they are absolutely unhinged in the best
And
way.
and I will say, like, one of the best parts is all of the outfits that they're wearing because it is so outlandish, so camp, and so fun.
Especially Rhode Island. I'm like, what are you guys doing? Liz, what girl, what are you wearing? Like all the chains across, like
When
there's just a
she
lot of chains.
when she gets off the like floaty dinghy boat and like this weird like Prada but also like industrial looking look and I'm like, girl, you're on a little dinghy in Rhode Island. What is going on here?
I love it.
Yeah,
They're so, I want to be all their friends.
going back to the Carrie Bradshaw lies of it all, your fashion does feel very just like happy and true to you. Has that always been the case, or do you feel like you've kind of like grown into like your most confident self?
I think like the minute I got to New York and was like, whoa, there's so much style here, like on all like ends of the spectrum, I was like, okay, this is my people. I've always like loved bright colors. I've always loved bold pieces, but I definitely think like once I got to New York was like, oh, okay, a whole new world, as Ariel once said.
It does feel like a counterbalance though to like the New York all black uniform though. It's like bright, bubbly, fun.
Yeah, I guess it's just like I like to dress how I want to feel. So that's kind of how I pick things. If it's a bright color, and also a super visual person.
Mm.
So I'm very attracted to bright colors. Like anytime I'm asked what my favorite color is, I literally cannot answer.
Oh,
My nails are my nails are any indication. I just love all colors. And I love like blowing people's minds in terms of like what plus size girls can wear. Like for some reason there's like a whole contingency of people who think like the all black, like black makes me look skinny, black da da da. It's like whatever you feel good in, you will feel good in. Like and whatever you like, you will feel good in. So like I've always been a huge just like why not dress the way that you want to feel? And
right.
some people feel good wearing all black and there's no shame in that, but like I like to feel bright, I like to look bright, and I like to wear things that people are like, "Oh my gosh, where'd you get that?" When usually it's like, Amazon or Target.
Right. And it does feel like New York gives you like a liberation of like no one's gonna take a double take if you wear something a little outlandish because it'll never be as crazy as like someone else walking down the street. And so
As the naked cowboy.
we will never be the naked cowboy, nor do we want to be.
No. Also, he's not naked. He's wearing underwear.
And that's the
Lies.
gag. That's the
Lies and deceit.
not you being like the whistleblower on
The whistleblower on the naked cowboy.
yeah.
Oh God.
I also do always love to know if there was a co-star or even like a production's costume department that you would love to raid for every day.
I mean, it's got to be Sarah Jessica Parker. Like
Okay.
she's not one of my co-stars, but like you want someone who's one of my co-stars?
I feel like you're going Death Becomes Her. That would have been my hunch.
Oh yeah. I mean, so many fun things in Death Becomes Her.
Mine is Funny Girl because
Trying to
I
think.
love an animal print as a neutral.
I see that you're leopard. I love a
Cute.
leopard. I just got a new pair of Uggs that are leopard print, but like light colored leopard
An
slippers.
understated leopard of sorts.
And well, I don't know if I would call it understated.
Okay.
I don't really buy anything that's understated.
And you shouldn't.
Like probably right now, anybody in Cats in the Jellicle Ball. Like
Yes,
all those opening night fits were iconic.
we do need to clarify the Jellicle Ball and not like
Yes.
the traditional cat's unitard situation.
No. I mean, now that I feel like that Jellicle Ball is out, like I don't think anybody can ever refer to the old like because everyone's like we no longer accept anything except for the Jellicle Ball because it's so amazing.
You can't unsee it.
No.
And I know it's a little early, but like, do you have any ideas of like opening night for Heated Rivalry, like what you want to put together?
Oh my gosh, I haven't even thought about it.
You're like, oh, I need to like do the show and like figure out the actual show first. And I'm like, so what do you want to
I know.
wear?
I know. Well, we got to tour the space. So we're doing the show on the sixth floor of what used to be the McKittrick Hotel.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, it's super cool. So they're completely gut renovating the sixth floor for us. So we saw like basically a construction zone and we were like, how is this going to happen by May? I mean, it's going to happen because it has to happen. They're also there's a really cool rooftop up there that they think that's where opening night party is going to be.
Fun.
So it kind of depends on like how hot it is, if we're going to be outside,
Okay, practical.
but it'll literally be in the same building, which is chef's kiss. Always love not having to travel far on an opening night.
Yeah, there doesn't need to be a bathroom change. Like we can just,
No, also like I feel like that's like all the rage right now. Like people are like, let's do our show in Midtown and then let's go have our opening night party in the financial district. It's like
yeah,
we got to
like
get there.
it's the
We gotta
frozen
get ready and then
sound
get
that's like, like
uh-huh.
of
Yeah.
everyone just schlepping
Yes.
downtown.
Yes. Bring back the Edison Ballroom.
Well, it's
I think
also
it's
like
still there.
you mentally are like, I'm getting further from my house. I'm getting further
Uh-huh.
from my house.
Yep. And I live in Hoboken, so I'm getting very far from my house.
You're like, I need my own ferry now. Thank you so
Uh-huh.
much.
Yep.
But it's giving
Exactly.
like Barbra Streisand funny girl on the front of the ferry, just like crossing the Hudson. Yes,
Oh, that would be
precisely.
nice. I wish I had my own personal ferry.
Put it in your next contract. See what
One
happens.
day. One day.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we always end on the same question, which is, what do you hope will be your signature stamp on the industry?
My signature stamp. I think my signature stamp is something that we've kind of been talking about, is just being the person that you want back. That's my signature stamp. Being fun and bubbly and a team player and being the girl they invite back. I hope that's my stamp.
And I think you've got that stamp on lock.
Yes.
Well, thank you, Ryan.
So fun. Thanks, Mackenzie.
And that's our show. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to Dress Rehearsal. If you love theater and fashion as much as we do, invite another diva to join the community. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube, all the places. See you next time.